Hello, everyone. This is Lisa Ware, Senior Group Leader. Hello, lovely to see you this very, very warm Tuesday afternoon in June. We have blazing June at last. We have summer. And I cannot believe that people are moaning already about the heat. Isn't that just typical British? Never happy. Um, do we not spend lots of money to go abroad to get this? Yes, I know, but there you go. So look, today we're going to talk about some real basic stuff, but stuff that I know people aren't doing because right from the beginning of their journey with UW, I see folk what I call scanting around for contacts. And to be quite honest, that sort of amuses me. And I don't mean that in a nasty way, but I don't think I've ever struggled for contacts. Um, I'm living in a world where there's people all around me all the time. Everyone's a possible, I view it. Um, but let's do the very basics. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and take you to your partner portal. We all got one that looks much the same. Are you seeing the dashboard? Thumbs up? Marvellous. Okay. I've just got another 3 points. So I've got my FEC points and I've got some achiever points. And I think Thursday I'm going to gather possibly another 9. And by the way, my month didn't really start until the 9th of June because I was away from my birthday, the 30th of May, until we got back late on the 8th. So I'm sharing that because um, I've got myself a couple appointments, and that is purely from a week's work. So I'm saying that because, like everyone, I'm busy. There's lots going on. There's all sorts of stuff happening in my life, things I'm doing, people I look after. So there you go. But let's take you to some real basic stuff. So you might want to note this down. If you go to your learning and training on the left-hand side, drop down, and then you're going to go to your A to Z. And we have been in this little area lots and lots of times. G, you're probably thinking, why G? Well, G is for getting appointments. Okay. And then you want to click getting appointments. And then there's lots and lots and lots of stuff all about how to get appointments, gathering referrals, using social media, running a home launch, conversation starters. But we're gonna really go into depth with this, build a list. And they offer you a download, which is the memory jogger. If you click that, one I produced earlier is this. And here it is. And I would say whether you're in a day, I don't know, a week, a month, a year, 2 years, 5 years, this still has absolute relevance. And I'm going to explain why it has relevance, okay? Because the very basics of this is about building a big list. I think we're all agreed if you've got nobody to ring or to contact, you actually don't have a business. So this is actually the fundamental thing. You have to have people to contact, okay? And when you start off, we use an acronym called FROGS, which starts for Friends and Family, Recreational, Occupational, Geographical, and Same Name Contacts. Now, this is fabulous because friends and family is your starting point. Now, why would friends and family be your starting point? I'm going to stop the sharing, really home in on this, because for most of us, we have got some family. Now, in reality, I know we don't always get on with family, or family doesn't get on with us. And am I the only one that has some of that going on? Yeah. Okay. So not all my family is available to me. Okay. But the ones that are, these are the people that we need to contact first, because if relationships are congenial, I think I've used the right word there, then they should be the people that love and care about you, that you have familiarity with, that you have rapport with, that you share. Here's the big clue: you share the same values. Those are the people that we're looking for. People that have the same values. Now, why is that important? Because value is the essence of our emotional being. When we're in line with somebody else's values, that's what we call rapport. All right. Now, some people don't realize this, but some do. So it's really important that we find people that we have the same similar values. And family will often be it. So in the early days, it wasn't my parents. My parents kind of treated my UW business with a bit of disdain. I'm just saying the way it is. My mum and dad never came on for 2 years. Why? And I'm going to share with you because I messed it up. All right, I'm being honest. Am I allowed to say that I messed something up? Yeah. It's, do we not learn mostly in our challenges? We do. We don't learn in the success. So what did I mess up? Well, I went to my parents almost immediately as a natural instinct, and also because the training told me to. But instead of doing what I now know is the right thing, I sold it to my mum and dad. And if you sell something to somebody, usually their backs go up because they like to think in their life up to that point, they're doing pretty okay for themselves. Now, let's take parents. Parents are our so-called betters. They're ahead of us, aren't they? They brought us into this world. And I think most parents like to think they know a thing or two. Now, my mum believes she knows everything about everything. And my mum has an opinion on everything. Okay. So if I had clocked the right way to do this, listen to a bit of Big Al, listen to someone like Critch and Rob, who brought me in, I would have probably got an instant result, but I didn't. I messed it up. So one Sunday were all gathered together, having a Sunday lunch at my parents'. And my nan, bless her then, still alive, she also lived with my parents in a bit. They had a big house. They had like two sitting rooms and they had shared kitchen, and my mum and dad kind of looked after them. They were carers. So there was lots of us. There was also my sister and her husband and all their children. So it was a big gathering. If I remember right, there was something like 14 or 15 of us. Now, if I'd listened to the training, I would have learned that you don't kind of announce something like that at a big gathering. You don't walk into a room, do you, and say to everyone, hey, I've got the best thing since sliced bread. Come on, you all need to have this. Well, that's basically what I did. And it almost came into a bun fight, if you know what I mean. And my late husband had to hold me back and said quite loudly when it all got a bit heated, listen, Lisa, if your mum and dad don't want to save money and don't want better customer service and don't want it with you, that's their prerogative. But please, let's not fall out over this. Let's be a family. And he calmed it all down. Well, can you imagine? That was like red rag to a bull to me. I mean, I was just seething. But I kind of did as my husband said because I didn't want to upset the status quo. And I could see all three daughters really glaring at me, you know. You can picture it, can't you? Now, if I played it right, my parents would probably be my first. And I'll tell you why, because there's a way to do it. And I would have said, oh, mum, look, you've been around the block a lot or something of that nature. I really value your opinion. Would you mind having a look at something for me? Because I've started something new. And you know what? I need a bit of practice. And as we love each other and I really value what you have to say, would you mind looking it over? Do you know what? My mum would have like, yes. Oh, asking for her opinion. Wonderful. But I didn't. So I blew it. And I blew it for 2 years. Eventually they came round, and it was interesting that it was mum that got dad to make the phone call to me. And he riled me from the moment he rang me because my dad was always sarcastic, perhaps where I get a little bit of mine from, if I'm honest. He said, Lisa, are you still doing that car phone warehouse thing? Well, you can imagine, can't you? Yeah. But anyway, your mum and I have had this bill come in, and it's absolutely horrendous. It was Southern Electric, which is now over. And maybe you might be able to help us. And I got my foot in the door. Right now, I'm sharing that because there's a clue in the words about making the calls, which we talked about last week. Yeah. But I did actually write down lots of names. But I decided I had such a rum time with my parents. My sister wasn't having it for anything. No way. Oh, what? Let my sister earn some money off her. £5 a month. It weren't going to happen. So I thought, oh, I've got to reach out to people. And I decided that the people I was going to reach out were to people that did know, like, and trust me, but they trusted me in business. And I rang, now hear this, not a few, not 10, not 20. I made about 300 phone calls to lots of people that I knew I did business with. Please note, I made about 300 phone calls. I did it over a 2-week period. Has any of you ever made 300 phone calls in 2 weeks? I doubt it, but I did. And I was averaging one appointment an hour. Now, I thought that was bad. When I told Critch and Rob Barras what I was up to, I didn't know this, but they thought, yes. Because evidently to get one appointment an hour, and I was doing this about 8 hours a day, I was making about 8 appointments a day. Do any of you make 8 appointments a day? No. So can you see I had a good chance to get somewhere? And it was my warm list. That was my warm list. And the reason it was that the people knew what I stood for in terms of business acumen and integrity. Integrity translating a bit more to values and rapport. And every single one of them, I asked them, I'd really value your opinion. Every single one. And everyone said, yeah, drop round. The ones that all, yeah, let's do this. So if you ever look at my beginning was lots and lots of people that were in business. And what happened in time was that the family and friends did start to come on as I gained skills, and through skills, competence, and through the competence, confidence. And that's what I believe people buy. I believe they buy our confidence, because there's an amazing NNL in the business called Stephen Longworth, and he's always said, people don't buy your guesswork. They don't buy your lack of confidence. So you've got to actually get confident, and that's by doing lots. All right. So who are these people? Well, they're your family, they're your parents. Your parents, oh my God, they might have some siblings. So they'll be aunties and uncles. And then there could be the greater family. So there could be possibly grandparents. And then there could be great aunties and uncles. And listen, how can this be organic? Honestly, it can. I'm not being funny here, but if you've got an auntie and she's taken up, your auntie has lived a life, has she not? She's possibly been to work. She's brought up a family. There could be kids, so you could have cousins. No, nephews. Sorry, and aunt, nephews and nieces. So I'm getting the family thing. Um, and then all these people have lived a life and worked. So there can be bosses and work colleagues, and all the people, their friends, their neighbours. Every single person that you've signed up has got that organic life of contacts. So here's my question to you. Have you ever bothered to go back to them? Oof. Now, I know a lot of people get the sign up and run out the door. And perhaps that was partly me in the early days. Although I did start to get referrals because we had a lovely little book. And Rob said to me when I joined, this was a referral marketing business. He didn't call it a network marketing business. He said it was a referral. And we had these books that one half was customer gathering and the other half, upside down round the other way, was recruiting distributors. And he said to me, you need to ask for referrals. So I suppose you could say ex-police used to being told what to do. I thought, right, if that's what you do, that's what you do. So I used to take my little referral book and I used to tell him at the beginning, look, we're going through this. We're going to have a look at it. I'm bound to save you some money. You're probably going to love the customer service. You're going to like the simple billing. And when you do, you'll probably find there'll be lots of other people that will as well. And we'll get some names down because everybody always gives me 3 names. Have you got the confidence to say that? I've just done it. All these years later, I've just been on an appointment. It was actually a referral. And I've got her electrician who's a trusted friend because this lady was agoraphobic. I've got her son, and she said, "Oh, I get on with the lady next door, the neighbour." So I got 3. I got me 3. And all of them, I've said to her, I ain't going to phone them because if I do that, that'll be a cold call. And I don't do cold calls. So I said, what I will say to you is, and I've got a little slip, it's really old fashioned. And I give these slips out and it tells them exactly what to say. This is a bit old stuff, but it works. Because can you be sure that if you leave it to them to say something, do you think they'll say it wrong? I do. They'll say it's a credit card. No, it's not. They'll say, oh, she can do everything. Oh, she can sign you up for all these insurances. I've even had someone once say, oh, pet insurance. No, there wasn't. Actually, what it was at the time, we used to have online partners, and one of them was a pet insurers. So they kind of got it, but they didn't get it. They'll say to you, oh, they give you 400 quid. No, they don't. They give you a credit of up to 400 across all the services. I've even had someone on one of the groups, made me laugh, said the other day, and I know Stephen Val know who this is, oh, is it £400 per service? And I'm thinking, where's the common sense? Because there are 5 core services. If there were £400, you could be looking at a hell of a lot of money they're giving away. In fact, that could be 2 grand, couldn't it? About the company would go bankrupt. So can you see how it's not good to leave them kind of thinking about what should they say? Because if people are confused, what do confused people do? Nothing. They won't do anything. They won't refer you. So I've got it all pre-printed on a little slip, and I give them the slip. I give them a card and say, look, give them a card and say this to them. And it tells them what to say. If you want to know what that is, I've got a template. You can chop it up and you can chop it up and have the slips in your bag like I've got. All right. Now, friends and family. What was the next one? Recreational. Guys, do you live in a world where you never go out the door? Actually, the lady I've just been to is She's almost one of those. She is agoraphobic, she told me. However, she does a lot of stuff online, so she's kind of got contacts online. And that's good enough because we do remote, don't we? So, what about recreation? Can I just say, if all of this is saying to you, no, I haven't got any family I talk to, no, I've got no friends, no, I've got no recreation, I'd say get a life. Sorry. Time to start actually making a life. Really? Now, I don't physically do any sports as such anymore, but what I do, it's that do, isn't it? Do. What I do is I constantly kind of keep in with people, chatting to them and everything. So think about the friends, the family, the recreational, the occupational. Oh my God, you've been to work. Guys, I've even started to work on contacts. Oh God, dare I admit this? Nearly 40 years ago when I was in the police. Why not? You can trace people these days through social media. It's ever so easy. I find here, there's a good thing for social media, finding out who people are and where they are. Brilliant. When somebody's thinking of joining, the first thing I do is a bit of research and I check them out on social media. Very easy to do. They're often there. All right. So that acronym, it should bring about hundreds of contacts. Now, this is what we are told by the experts, that by the time we've hit 18, do you know we've come into contact with about 2,000 people? That's at 18. I'll say to you, how many people have you come into contact with? Listen, if you go to church, how many people do you have a chat with? If you belong to a social club, there's loads. Oh my God, there's just so much. There's so many ways. And then each person has got, just like we're talking, that organic life. So let's tell you about some of them that have grown. Now, what do I mean that when I talk about organic growth? So, for example, many years ago, and it is now, can't believe it is actually 20 years ago, I used to do a winner mini, the forerunner to 20K. And I used to do it on a Friday morning, freezing my butt off at a place called Wimble Market. It was an absolute mainstay for me. And I used to spend about 4 hours, freeze. And some weeks I got nothing. Other weeks I get stuff. But anyway, one of them was a chap that looked at the stand, came over and said, I know you can help me with my telephone and possibly some broadband, he said, because I'm with BT and I know I'm paying too much. And I didn't realise very early on, what you do is you don't then verbally diarrhea over them and want to sell them at that point and everything. You just go, yep, I can help you. What we do is I come and show you. I show you everything so you can make a proper informed decision. And we'll look at a comparison. I call it an apples for apples comparison. People like that. Nice, simple language they understand. I never use the words, I'll give you a no obligation quotation. Ugh. It's straight out of a double glazing sales book, isn't it? So this guy, and I'll cut it very short, I went to see him. He brought the neighbour over. Gas, electric, phone, broadband, mobile. The neighbour did the same. But I asked for referrals. I got 4 referrals off the neighbour, and this chap called Melvin, he gave me 3, because 3 is what I used to ask for. Now, one of them was a cousin, and this gentleman I saw almost immediately, and he lived in a very posh house. So Melvin was what I call middle of the road, working class, but no, his cousin Alan, he lives in a very up Market Road called Glenfurniss Avenue, and it's definitely the A demographic. They loved all this as a referral. I remember ringing Alan and saying, Alan, I'm hoping that your cousin Melvin has called you like I asked him to, because otherwise I'll be livid if this is a cold call. What a great way to get in the door without permission. How about that? That's what I say. I'll be livid if he hasn't called you. And he turned round and he said, is that possibly Lisa? I said, he has then. He said, yeah. He said he's been extolling the virtues of something you've got. I said, well, look, all I want to do is come along and show you, give you all the facts, give you the information so you can make a proper informed decision. But I've not had anybody yet that's been disappointed. Just throw in a nice little, yeah. Now, what came from Melvin and Alan has referred me 24 times. Melvin has given me more. The neighbour gave me 4, but no more. But some of Alan's have given me loads more. In fact, one of them, their best friends, just down the road in Glenfurniss Avenue, another big house, they've ended up giving me about 15. This is like organic growth. So the starting block is your memory jogger with those people. And from that, you can build your business. You can bring everybody in. And these days it's easier because the little presentation, which is so short and sweet, lends itself to show the person everything. By the way, this lady today did say to me, I'm not interested in earning money. I said, of course you're not. I knew she wasn't. I knew that. I said, but I am required for compliancy. I love that line. I'm required to show everybody because actually, I said her name, I'm not going to say it. I said, you may know somebody or have heard somebody moaning and groaning about the price of food going up. To which she went, well, I'm moaning about the price of food going up. She said, we all are. I said, who's we? Oh, she said, all my friends. Oh, I said, have you got lots? Oh, she said, I do meet them up online, but I don't go out the house. I said, oh, so they're people that might be interested just like you. Oh, well, I don't know whether they'd like this. I said, so why do you like it? And she said, well, because Lisa, you're going to look after me. I've now got it all on one bill. It's going to be simple. And I've been looking for that for years. And I said, do you not think they may like that? She said, well, they might do. I said, can we not guess for them? Can we let them choose themselves? Oh, she said, yeah, I see what you mean. I said, have you heard of the old adage, to assume makes an ass of you and me? She said, yeah, I have. I said, that's why all I want you to do, and I gave her the slip. I said, I only want you to say that. But I've got 3 names. Okay. Now, the organic growth is there. The key to this business, funny enough, Rob wasn't wrong. It's referral marketing. The biggest way to grow your business is referrals. Now, you do know that connectors is kind of a sort of a sidestep, really. You do know a connector isn't a position, don't you? Yes, a connector is basically a lead generator. That's what they are. Now, I've got 2 now. I've got window cleaner, and I've now got one called the Bournemouth Death Club. And it came because I did a message to my broadcast list of customers, and I'm sharing this because it's important. And I got a load of thumbs and hearts and all this about connectors, saying about sharing my fee, could be 125, 150. And one of them came back, and it's a neighbour down the road that I signed up last year, which was a cock up completely. They were without broadband for 7 weeks. Openreach messed up right through the Christmas and New Year period. Would you say that you would have never bothered to go to them? Most would. No, I stuck with it. I kept dropping in, calling them every step of the way, and they see me as somebody they can trust. and it has been resolved, and Openreach admitted liability, and they've had about £700 compensation. So that was a bad turn to a good, and now he's chairman and he's asked me to do, and we've set it all up. So he's going to be a lead generator. Can I show you why I feel that connectors, this is all part of this growing your list. I don't think it's about hitting every single customer. Personally, I don't want all my customers to be connectors because I don't want to be on upfront income. I want to build my residual. I don't want to be forced onto the 250, 300 and share it. And then I've got to wait 5 years before residual income. I don't want that. No, thanks. I like referrals. Much better. Much better. So I'm on residual income and I earn the max of £60. Now, this was a referral that I just did. So in fact, she took 3 services. She is going to get £50 and the person that referred is going to get £50. Now that means I've dipped out on my upfront fee. Do you think I care? No, not a bit. Because residual income is going to kick in immediately and I've already got 3 referrals. So I'm always thinking of the bigger picture, constantly. And one of those that I go to see could become a partner. And that's what I'm looking for. So do unmute yourself. Any of you got any questions about this whole contacting? Now, I also said in my thing, I write it down. And there's a reason I write it down, because where I live, we have frequent power cuts. If you have a power cut and you have no electric, I'm sorry, guys, you have no internet. If you have no internet, if you've got everything online, you're scuppered. You're up the creek without a paddle. And what's going on in this world, I think there could be a few more power cuts coming the way they're talking. So I write it down. Now, why do I write it down? I'll tell you why, because it's simple. And my little books come with me and I instantly write it in. And I ask their permission, is it okay? And they go, yeah. That's all you got to do for GDPR is ask their permission. I also qualify that and I say, I'm meant to ask you every 6 months. Is it all right if I write this down? Would you like me to keep asking you every 6 months? And I've never had anyone say, no, please ask me. They all say, no, just keep the details. Yeah, keep them. So writing it down is key because it's with you. And when you've got the odd moment and you're out and about and it's a nice little A5, do you know what? You've got something to do, people to call. You could add notes to each thing, you know, each person that you've forgotten. Otherwise, I know that people, if they start doing spreadsheets, you can't take a spreadsheet with you. I'm sorry, you can't, all right? You can't. If it's in your phone, how are you going to retrieve all these names? You've got to have some system, really clever system. And you've still got to then diarise it in the calendar to remind you. Whereas I've got my little book and then in my diary, when I'm due to ring people, do you know what? I'm so simple. I write at the top of the day, must ring so-and-so. I mean, it couldn't be easier. This is so basic. And if that internet goes down, I've still got a business. I can still contact people. In fact, there's nothing quite like writing something down, and that's because they tell us when you write, you scribe. Scribing helps you remember the act of writing. Not typing, by the way, that doesn't. Scribing, writing. It's actually something that helps embed in your brain and remember more. So if you haven't got a little contact book, and I suggest, there we are, there are a few of these. All right, you can get them. Ever so simple. I've got loads of them. Just have a little book with you. How easy is that? So now the last thing, I'm a little bit over, but I'm going to share this. On Friday, I was suffering with hay fever and I couldn't go to Powerhouse. I was really in a bad way. And then a dear friend in the business, Christine Wise, said to me quite late that day when my eyes were streaming, they were swollen. In fact, my appointment with my guy for the connectors, I mean, I looked like a vampire, and it was like I ain't going to Powerhouse. But Christine said, "Have you tried local honey?" And so I went to the farm shop and I bought a jar of local honey close to me at Shatwick. I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, I took 2 teaspoons. Within 2 hours, every symptom gone. And every day I've been taking a level teaspoon for this honey. And here I am. I've got no symptoms now. So there's a good referral, but it's not about names. Okay. Why am I telling you this? Because we didn't go to Powerhouse, but instead I decided I was so annoyed. Sorry, I nearly swore. I was so annoyed that I missed out that we went out for a meal to our favourite restaurant in a little village called Child Oakford, called the Saxon Inn, where it's almost Michelin food for non-Michelin prices. And we sat outside and cut a very long story short. 2 couples came and sat near us, and it transpired. This is me asking questions, by the way. It transpired they were brothers with their respective wives, and they were meeting up, one family from Oxford, one from Brighton, and this was the meeting place, and they were staying the night here. So I was extolling the virtues of the Saxon Inn and how brilliant Sarah is at cooking and how they're going to love breakfast in the morning. And they were then going on the next day. They're now in St Ives. So I want to share with you, I know a lot about them. Can I tell you, they don't know anything about me. Do you remember that? Be interested, not interesting. What happened was one of them turned round and said, "So, do you live local?" I said, "Oh yeah, yeah." And Juan chipped in and said, "Yeah, we live there." And I said, "Oh well, I'm lucky. I've got this gorgeous view." Da da da. And as I work from home, I look out and the nearest building is a farm. It's half a mile away, and I can see deer at the end of my garden. And I said, "It's lovely because I work from home, so I get to see it all the time." To which that little sentence brought about, "What do you do?" Ah, I said, "Oh, I show people how to earn money by helping people save money." They went, "How do you do that?" I said, "Look, it's not the time or place." I got my phone out. I opened it up to contacts. I gave it to the brother that asked. I said, "Just put your name, write Saxon next to it, because that'll be my pickup point, and your mobile number, and I'll send you some information. But I'll wait until you're back from holiday." When do you get back from your holiday in St Ives? And they said, "Oh, it'll be a week on." I said, "I'll wait till the following week." Now, what that's done is shown that I'm not desperate, that I am going to promise to send information, and I've got myself another contact that I wouldn't have had. And anyone can do this. So I hope that's helped. We will have another part of building our business next week. Same time, same place. See you all. Bye.